Right, blessed good day, Trinidad and Tobago. So I am in Woodland. And I'm in Woodland. And I want you to notice something. This line here is a major heritage line, former Petrotrin line, that goes all the way. This line take everything from south and carry it to the southern division. Alright? I want to put heritage on notice so that they could send their people to have a look as to what is happening with this major pumping line here. Alright, this major pumping line. Let me see how close I could get to this. This area here. Right, so as you could see what is happening here with this line. Can't go too close here. But you could see what is happening with this major line here. This line goes all the way across and it goes all the way to the Point of Paria area. This line, and if you could watch. Right, so what happened now, under the bridge, so I lost in some service under the bridge here. But I think you get a glimpse of what I'm saying, and we need to put heritage on notice. A disaster waiting to happen. This goes straight down the Godino River. It goes straight down to the Mosquito Creek, and this line is compromised. If you could watch close to the ground, which I don't want to go back close because we lost in service, you're already seeing slight drips of oil. So which means this little bit, but I lost in service on. That's all. I lost in service under the bridge there. Right, so please share this live and put heritage on notice. This is a disaster waiting to happen. And of course, while this speaks of pollution in relation to the divers, you'll have a major pollution here very soon. Under this bridge, some of the pillars is also in a serious state under this bridge. This is the state of the affairs. So I walk into the next side. All men. Right, so this is the line here. So it goes all the way, it sends everything straight up to the Point of Paria area. So I'm on the other side of the bridge. And again, if you should look at this side, you will see this area almost ready to give way. So we sending a message to Heritage, so please send your personnel immediately to check this line. There's a disaster waiting to happen. This is a disaster waiting to happen. So we asking you, Heritage, please send your personnel to have a look at this line. This is the main pumping line from south, all the way down from Point 14, Labre, Santa Flora, straight up the main pumping line. Right, this is Wassa on the other side here. So this is Wassa camp up on the other side here. Right? This is Wassa. So let's see what happened. This is Wassa. Watch what's happening here. Wassa again. Right, so these lines is in need. It's only a matter of time. This one is a Wassa line. Right, this one is Wassa. So you see what happening here. It's only a matter of time before this Wassa line also give way. So it go underground here. This is the area where the welding took place. So you see what is happening there. It's compromised also. So we asking Wassa to take a look at this line here. This is in the Woodland area. And we asking Heritage on the other side to look at that main pumping line because it's a disaster that is waiting to happen. Alright? So stay blessed, stay safe.
Right, good morning to the people. Good afternoon. Yeah, well, we are here so long. Yeah, that's it. Right, this is the construction of the structure in David Toby Trace. David Toby Trace. You see? Road.
I'm sure you can remember boss man name.
No.
Does she tell you?
Sydney Hamilton. With the 3 children.
Right, but look the main man here. If it wasn't for he, we wouldn't have known nothing. If it wasn't for he, we wouldn't have known.
Yeah. If it wasn't for this guy.
Yeah.
So, just introduce yourself back again. Don't worry yourself.
My name is Mikey.
Mm-hmm.
I the guy we really see the little children on them in the back here. I'm trying to assist them. Me and my friend here, Chris.
You see, I see Chris, man. Yeah, man.
He's the one who's trying to make sure everything going on with the children. So far, and we're getting help from the people. So we just see what we could do here to build up a place for them. So far, we're getting.
So the villagers here, they're assisting in the construction of the building of a home, a matter of fact, for the children. So they won't have to be in that shed again. So we here again in David Toby Trace. Here in David Toby Trace where we assisting the families with the 3 children. What is this thing here? If a suspect? I'm sure, yeah.
Ready?
You can try and keep your hand on that.
Huh? Yeah. Right. How many square?
These are the hard-working guys that building for the 3 little children and the father and David Toby Trace. Yeah, again here in David Toby Trace. Maybe you reckon the structure for the children. Thanks to douglAR Politics and another person that contribute heavily to this production. Good afternoon, Anne-Marie. Good afternoon. See the work that we're doing here in David Toby Trace. Building the home, the 3 little children. Christian Moore, morning. Again, we live thanks to the members of douglAR Politics. NG, morning to you. Rampasad, morning. Here in David Toby Trace. Again, assisting the Uchun. Good morning. That is what we're doing here in David Toby Trace. Johnny Ramkilawan, good morning. And me, yes, thanks. David Toby Trace.
This is douglAR Politics, yo. douglAR Politics. Listen, douglAR Politics, yeah. douglAR Politics. This is douglAR Politics, yeah. douglAR Politics. This is douglAR Politics. douglAR Politics. This is douglAR Politics, yo. douglAR Politics.
Good evening and welcome to douglAR Politics. We say condolences to the family, friends, and the entire nation on the passing of Olympic, World Championship, Pan Am Games, CAC Games, NCAA champion Dion Lendor, who was laid to rest this week. Condolences to his mother, to his family, to his friends, and to all of Trinidad and Tobago. Archie, douglAR Politics, we salute Dion Lendor.
We've come along. Dion Lendor, born on October 28, 1992 in Arima, represented Trinidad and Tobago at 3 Olympic Games, as well as 4 outdoor and 2 indoor World Championships. He won 5 global medals at the senior level, 1 silver and 4 bronze. His introduction to senior international athletics was impressive when at just 19 years old, he anchored Trinidad and Tobago to a mile relay bronze at the 2012 Olympics in London.
I can't believe Angelo Taylor's been beaten by Ramon Miller. Bahamas get it, and Great Britain in 4th place, asked out of the medals, just behind Dion Lendor of Trinidad and Tobago.
3 years later, at the 2015 World Championships in Beijing, he ran an impressive 3rd leg as Trinidad and Tobago went on to secure silver. Lendor also won 3 bronze medals at the World Indoor Championships, one as part of their 4x4 relay unit in 2018. He also won 2 individual medals, one in Portland 2016 and another at Birmingham 2018. He last represented Trinidad and Tobago at the Tokyo 2020 Olympics in 2021, where he made the semi-finals of the flat 400 and the final as part of TNT's 4x400 team. He won multiple medals at the junior level, from the Carifta Games to the Junior Pan American Games and Central America and the Caribbean CAC Games. In 2014, he also won NCAA 400 titles indoors and out, competing for Texas A&M University. In that year, Lendor also won the Bowerman, an award presented to the most outstanding male and female athletes in the NCAA. At the time of his death, Lendor's outdoor personal best, 44.36 seconds, is the 3rd fastest ever by a Trinidadian. He also has TNT's indoor 400-meter record at 45.03 seconds. A consistent performer for the Twin Island Republic, a 400 force at the international level for close to a decade, Dion Lendor, gone at just 29.
And it must be mentioned, we need to stop the hypocrisy. Penelope Beckles, with all due respect, you're agreeing and promoting a foundation now for Dion Lendor when he is passed. But your government failed to recognize his World Indoor 2016 and 2018 bronze medals, while you gave financial rewards to people who got CAC medals. Anyone who understands sports and understands accomplishments knows that a CAC medal holds less weight than a World Indoor Championship medal. So if you want your words to seem sincere, then you all have to get your act together and understand the importance of policy in sport. I had left a reward schedule there. Great analysis, understanding, and at every level that there would be no subjectivity, that when our heroes and our athletes perform, they get rewarded X amount for X performance. Simple. They don't require a minister to like them or go to have friends and make calls. It was there. The PNM discarded it and treated a world indoor medal as if it was nothing. So don't come now and just talk about a foundation to keep his memory alive. That's great. But we like to respect our athletes while they are alive and kicking. And saying that, we've seen nothing from the government, Shamfa Kucho, the Prime Minister, no one on the passing of the great Sunny Ramadan at 92 years old. Imagine that. You get it from Munilal, from Kamla, from myself, from the UNC, from Tim Gopi Singh, but no respect to Sunny Ramadan. You just don't respect sport, PNM. And that is what we're talking about. Now, we also have another problem. Kamla Prasad Bisesa was developing and diversifying the economy, as you could see the video running behind me, into sports tourism. Sport had reached the business end of the budget. The facilities that were built with a plan in mind to create an industry, to create a situation where Trinidad and Tobago will be the sports tourism hub of the Western Hemisphere, where all countries, especially from the north, during winter months will come here, spend US. Every 10,000 visitors that we could get to sports tourism would have increased the GDP by approximately $120 million. And the goal was to get up through all the facilities, through the universities, national teams, professional teams coming to train, sports medicine, sports science, sport as an industry, sport marketing, sports festivals in Trinidad and Tobago, utilizing those facilities. But the PNM Archie could not even maintain the facilities. Look at even Guacara Park, like we showed you all last week. Guacara Park and Clifton Hill and all of the facilities across Trinidad and Tobago. The aquatic center, only 50% of the lights are working. The cycling velodrome, 18 months, the air condition didn't work. In 2019, the aquatic center turned green for frogs. They're now tendering out, sport company under the PNM, tendering out to rehab the tennis courts in the National Tennis Center, the best tennis center in this part of the globe that has received ITF accreditation, looking for international tournaments on the WTA and so on tour. Them had to come to fix it. We have no hockey turf. We have nothing going on because the PNM does not understand or believe or respect sport tourism, and respect sport as an industry. And now, Archie, imagine the Ministry of Tourism now asking for a sport tourism master plan. Or you feel like joking? Invitation to tender, development of sport tourism master plan for 2022 to 2030. Their stakeholders, Tourism Trinidad invites suitably qualified and experienced consultants to submit tender proposals for the development of sports tourism master plan for Trinidad and Tobago for the period 2022 to 2030. Tender submissions deadline is Friday, March 25th, 2022 at 2 p.m. Full details for this invitation to tender are outlined in the attached. Kindly review and follow all guidelines provided within. Tourism Trinidad Limited, Level 18 Tower D. The PNM has no plan. Just resign and Anil go do the master plan for you because it's there, it existed there, it's sitting there. All you just find because it's a UNC plan, don't use it. What you're going to do, spend more taxpayers' dollars to get a plan of a lower standard, a lower understanding, a lower passion. You all just don't care about sport. Randall Mitchell, you know nothing. Shamfa knows nothing. Just come out because you never had a plan. That's why COVID-19, we are the worst. That's why crime is the worst. That's why the economy is shattered. That's why debt to GDP is up. That's why the infrastructure has collapsed. Because the PNM never had a plan. And they're admitting here now that after 6.5 years, they had no plan for sport tourism whatsoever. Well, here the plan. Come out and Anil go do it. End of story. This is not funny. Randall Mitchell, you have no shame. And not only that, not only are our facilities left depreciating and without any plan to generate revenue in sport, tourism, but in regular tourism too. Randall Mitchell, you are a total, complete failure. Look at the embarrassment to Trinidad and Tobago under your watch, Randall Mitchell. But you're calling the douglAR community calling you? What about the tourism community? What about the citizens? What about Trinidad and Tobago? And all you like to call people unpatriotic? Archie, run it. Show the people. That is Randall Mitchell. That is Randall Mitchell and the PNM. That is Tobago. That is our gem. That is the government's hotel. That is supposed to attract people and compete with me, Amor Motley in Barbados, and Keith Mitchell in Grenada, and Antigua, and St. Vincent, and St. Lucia. That's what we competing with. We are at a disadvantage. We are handicapped by the PNM. And it's not even funny. It's very sad. And these people say that are the UNC trying to be unpatriotic. Pollster Ram Samouch to appear in Suriname court. This is a man, Ram Samouch, who in Suriname for about 500 days. He get charged. He now going to court, but he is bad talk the UNC. Ram Samouch, NFM's priority is to ensure country has enough wheat. Really? That is you ensuring that? You who have raised prices and have people suffering food price inflation with the war raging between Ukraine and Russia, two of the world's largest producers of wheat. The National Flour Mills has said it's a priority is securing enough of the grain to supply the country, and admits it will have to make decisions if the price continues to rise. So pressure again, PNM coming to make it so you can't eat bread at all. You have no wheat, you can't do nothing, you have no flour. Randall Mitchell, you better call the douglAR community and tell them, don't eat bread because the PNM raising prices. The weight of darkness, what is this? Ring, ring. Hello, Randall here. Hey, the douglAR community calling. Brian say a girl making a... I tell Randall Mitchell, you not afraid the douglAR, you know? If you want the douglAR do a sports master plan for me, call me on the douglAR network. Right? Call the douglAR on the douglAR network and I will do the sports tourism plan, master plan for you that you are no plan for 6.5 years. But telling people vote for all you. The weight of darkness proved itself. Anton Lafond, Guardian, opinion page 17, Friday, March 4, 2022. Very interesting article. When we talk about the darkness, I'm telling you there's a darkness over Trinidad and Tobago that I cannot explain. He says, how many of us felt the deep reaction to the absence of water and electricity on February 16, 2022? To my knowledge, in my lifetime, I have never experienced such a terrible, mind-blowing feeling. It was not the absence of lights and water that shocked me, but the manner in which it was carried out. 12 hours of serious vulnerability caused panic and mayhem, which brought about the image of what we would do in times of disaster. As the elderly folks say, we were caught with our pants down. Lurking in the wings of how this interruption took place, one has to search deep into what or who caused this sudden castration of the two most important factors required for mankind to function in these present times. As I look around at the effects of that 12-hour episode, it took me some time to study how fatal, if not crucial, the effects were on those folks who are elderly and differently abled. Homes for these folks, as well as those who live in their own, must have gone through horrible and discomforting hours of pure pain. The elderly, that was a different perspective. I hadn't even thought of that at the time. Imagine the elderly in that 12 hours of blackout. And yet, the Minister of Man thought it was funny, Archie, run it.
Also, in terms of assurances to the public, given that the system is backed up, but that there would not be necessarily any repeat of anything like what happened yesterday in the very near future at the very least.
I think when I took my oath of appointment, I would have...
Murdered West Moorings woman, remembered as a people person and a carnival lover, but yet she is buried around carnival time, starting of Lent. A mother, a woman, grassroots, help everybody. We are all Trinbagonians, and this woman, Nicole Moses, the best friend of Jolene John's sister, she helped so many people you all would not even understand. I don't have time to even say. And she, along with many other mothers and fathers, are being murdered and ravaged across this country. And the police, what are they doing? Playing games with Fitzgerald et Albert Hines. So condolences to the family and friends of Nicole Moses, a true patriot who lived her life for others and helped others. So generous, working with NGOs and charities, her business always helping out. You could see the pain and torture. If you want to know about Nicole Moses, you can ask Jolene John. Iran raising nuclear stockpile. So let's talk, we have to talk about our friends, you know, because you all voted for Keith Christopher Rowley. He never said in any manifesto that he presented 9 days before an election that he was going to change Trinidad and Tobago's foreign policy direction. He was going to take us away from the USA, Canada, and the European Union and place us smack dab in the middle of Venezuela, Russia, Iran, and China. Okay? Now China, all right, China is doing work all over and it's competitive. But Venezuela, Russia, and Iran is Rowley's foreign policy. But did he tell you that? Did he tell you that he was going to put Trinidad and Tobago against and make us make the USA, European Union, and Canada look down upon us? Look at us with a cocky eye? Did he tell you that? Well, let me just read about Trinidad and Tobago's new friends, because Rowley is boasting and the Iranian president is boasting also about the connection with Trinidad and Tobago. Iran raising nuclear stockpile. UN atomic watchdog. Express page 25. Friday, 4th March. The United Nations atomic watchdog said yesterday that it believes Iran has significantly increased its stockpile of highly enriched uranium in breach of a 2015 accord with world powers. But your Prime Minister, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, ignores Guyana, shuns the CARICOM to go there and sit down and make new friends. And there's his old friend. Did you all vote for that? All these issues don't matter. All that matter is who does eat banana and who don't eat banana. Is that really serious? Are we a serious country? Refugee reform urgently needed, says the Newsday editorial. Really? You now realize that, Newsday? Why aren't you all clamoring for the investigation into the death of baby Yaelvis Santoyo Sarabia? Put up the picture, Archie, because like we are forgetting. We forget so easily that this little baby got a bullet straight in his head here and shattered his skull and his brain splattered all over his mama. His mama who had surgery, and then we didn't take her to bury her son. We took her to a police station in Sangre Grande. And we have Keith Christopher Rowley, Vasant Bharat, Neeraj Tiwari, who is on the boat with Bo, talking about do not question our independent institutions or those given the authority to enforce laws. Really? That's the position, Vasant Bharat? That Kamla Prasad, the successor, when calling for an investigation, was unpatriotic and low politics when a baby and his mommy and 35 other unarmed people was shot at? That's your position, Rowley, Vasant, and Botiwari? Really? What about the investigation? Where's the investigation? Did it reach anywhere? Or we just forget about this little baby because he's dead? Well, what should we do now, Vasant, Bo, Neeraj, and Rowley? Because it appears that our Coast Guard has taken your carte blanche authority and support, even if they're doing wrong, because law enforcement have rules and laws to follow also. Law enforcement is not judge, jury, and executioner. But since Rowley, Vassant, and Bo tell the Coast Guard, them could do what they want, because anybody who criticizes them, who wants them to apply the laws properly, efficiently, and with the correct use of force policy is unpatriotic. Well, you all sent a good message, Rowley, Vassant, and Bo Tiwari, because Archie, show them what has happened with our brothers, our sisters from Grenada. Run it.
What was supposed to be a routine check within the waters of Trinidad and Tobago became a nightmare for an 8-member Grenadian crew aboard this vessel on Wednesday morning. Like every Tuesday, the vessel Rainier, along with its crew, left the docks of Grenville for Trinidad for its weekly trip on March 1st. At around 4 a.m. Wednesday morning, while in the waters of the neighboring island, they were stopped by Coast Guard for what was supposed to be a routine check. However, according to Keith Joseph, operator of Rainier, this check was different as they were greeted with hostility by officers, nothing like they had experienced over the years of sailing between islands. He claimed that one of the officers was using obscene language to them and pointed his gun in the direction of the crew.
My crew member here said, you better be careful with the pointing of that gun, because you had an incident where a kid was accidentally shot and killed. And that made it even, more worse. And he said, you know what, we're taking you guys to the base. Captain said, why you don't want to take us to the base? Because it's kind of difficult to maneuver in there. We've never been in there before with that boat, and she's pretty heavily laden. And he continued to say, well, you heard what he's saying. You're not deaf. Bring the so-and-so boat in there.
Joseph said the crew complied and followed the officers to the base of the vessel, but what happened next terrified them.
Then, one guy, the same guy who boarded the boat, jumped on board and just pulled the captain off, pushed him off onto the docks. It was, brutalized, slapped, kicked, punched, thrown to the ground. And the same guy pointed to my crew member who mentioned to him about the shooting incident with the Coast Guard. And he said, I want you to come down. So he proceeded, and as he landed there, 2 of them jumped on him. Slaps, kick, punch. He fell to the ground. They continued kicking him. I tried to shout to them to stop.
The operators said they were scared for their lives at the moment. Few minutes later, one plain-clothed officer, who they concluded to be a superior, came to the docks and spoke to the Coast Guard. It was only after that encounter that the officers returned to the crew and told them that they can leave. The crew member was later hospitalized at the Port of Spain General Hospital for several injuries, one of which he now requires surgery for. While the matter was reported to the relevant authority, Joseph said he will not leave this undone, as his crew member needs to be compensated for his injuries and violation of his rights.
But these are the reasons that we're going to take it legally, to make somebody responsible, because we cannot be responsible. This is not a simple surgery. It's not a cheap surgery. Okay, so the Coast Guard, the Trinidad government, somebody has to take responsibility for that. I'm in a position to stand up, and I'm not afraid to stand up. It's the guys' rights, it's our rights, it's human rights. It involves everyone. It's not just us. Because if that happened to us, we trade with Trinidad every week. What will happen to a foreign vessel? People who can't speak English fall into their hands.
What say you, Rowley, Vassant, Bo, and Nirad Tiwari? Don't investigate that. Don't meet with the Minister of Foreign Affairs for Grenada. Rowley, don't call the Prime Minister and apologize and say that an investigation is underway. What about taxpayers' dollars that have to pay for that man's surgery? So just leave the Coast Guard. They could do what they want. They could do anything. They could abuse humans. They have the power. They have the gun. They have the bulletproof vest. Just leave them. No, that's your position, Rowley, Vassant, and Bo. That's a brilliant one, but that's not the position of Kamla Prasad Bisesa. Kamla Prasad Bisesa says, to whom much power is given, much responsibility lies. And you must wield your power fairly and under the law with proper use of force policy. You can't just abuse people and beat people. Rowley, Black Lives Don't Matter. Huh? That man is just a black man from Grenada, so he could beat him, batter him. Where's the investigation? What have we heard? Nothing from the PNM. And as we talk about that, Rowley attacks Labour from since he came in. He said that Kamala wasted money paying increments and paying back pay to workers across the board. Kamala Persad-Bissessar was corrupt because she settled negotiations with 145 Labour union matters when she was there between 2010 and 2015. Rowley attacks and hates and shows his vengeance and his vindictiveness towards Labour. He shattered the OWTU and lied to them with patriotic energies about the Petrotrin refinery that remains closed for 3.5 years. He has gone on a systematic attack at UTT. He's attacking all the labor unions now. Tutor next, WASA. Letters have started to go out for termination. TNTech, you next. And now we're seeing that he's sending his little bulldog, his small pin, to attack and to take over everything. Why? Because Rowley believes that labor and hard workers, that y'all are dotish, because the bright ones are the ones with money, the pinks, the billionaires, the kings that he crumbles before. He gets so weak in the knees that he cannot even speak. Your highness, huh? Rowley, what do you think about labor? Let labor know. Run it, Archie.
What I'm against is dotish labor leaders who are leading workers astray.
Come on. If you want to talk about... Yes, dotish labor leaders leading workers astray. What do my labor leaders, especially those who have erred? That's okay. You believed in that man, I don't know why. I could never understand why. You don't need to explain to me why. But one thing we can agree with now is that he must go. And he must go now, that the country cannot survive, that we have paid enough in pain and darkness and evil over this country. We've paid enough. We've been tortured enough. We've lost enough friends and family, and we've been disrespected enough. So to my labor brethren, my labor colleagues, please, let's get rid of this man now. Right now. Right now. Because the country cannot afford. Because what this man has done, he has found the most heartless, senseless, unpatriotic non-entity and given him so much power that even the PNM, that may have some good, patriotic, loving, caring, humane people in it, that they are just thwarted. They are pushed aside. They are disrespected one by one. As the Prime Minister de facto, Stuart Smallpin Young, he is now going to tell us a cabinet subcommittee is going to review state of TSTT. He jump in on the portfolio of the Minister of Man. He is in charge of everybody portfolio across the board. Rowley gives him carte blanche. Now, I don't know how these PNM ministers, what sort of self-esteem they have. Because if Rowley had put he to come into sport when I was a minister, I don't even know how that would have worked out. And he come to take decisions in my portfolio. Well, no big thing. You want to keep he. Well, I gone. But not in the PNM. They all stay and leave this to walk all over them. Where is the Minister of Man now? He is discussing what is going to take place at TSTT. Then Stuart Young, this small pin, meets with the outgoing Venezuelan ambassador. Why? Amory Brown, you weren't available? Aren't you the Minister of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs? How come he meeting with the Venezuelan ambassador? Young, talking in a post-cabinet conference, says the Prime Minister will address the population. Do not let your heart be troubled. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley will address the population, says Energy Minister Stuart Young. Young responded, you were expecting the Prime Minister? I mean, these post-cabinet press conferences, it really is a decision by the cabinet as to who should go and address these are matters that fall under the remit of the Minister of Energy. Really? That's really true? It's the remit of the Prime Minister to say what happened is the chair of the cabinet. But I guess he sent the real Prime Minister out there to discuss. 3 names for probe. But when you're talking about this man who is the Prime Minister. Now think about it, all you PNM people. Did you vote for this man to have all this power? He just run over Minister Aman portfolio, Amory Brown portfolio. Previously with the Sandals matter, Randall Mitchell didn't know anything. Archie didn't know anything about Sandals. Stuart Young was negotiating with Sandals and in Tobago all over the place. Keep them flowing, as I say the name, Archie. So Randall Mitchell, he run all over your portfolio. What happened? You don't fight for your own turf? You're not an expert? You don't know nothing? You never fight for your own turf. I mean, Brian Manning run all over your turf, right? But my goodness, what about Simon the Nosebreaker? You are the Minister of Communications. How come Small Pin just start to communicate and discussing with the media what the Prime Minister will do and what these ministers will do? They doesn't give you a portfolio to tell you what? Communicate in silence? Simon the Nosebreaker, yeah, it's shame. Then they put Small Pin to act. They send Faris Al-Rawi out to London or something. Look, Faris, you look dapper there by the girl them darling. They send the girl them darling outside. And Small Pin acting as Attorney General, and he wrote legal notice 277 and had to amend it 24 hours later, 278, to make sure Gary Griffith can't get no work. Faris, you read that, but you have to take that Faris boy, Johnny Sukaran, Small Pin walking all over you and you can't do nothing about it. What about Franklin Can, the late Franklin Can? He was Minister of Energy, but Rowley took Small Pin to Houston and told you all in a conversation with the Oreo that Small Pin was negotiating, and he and Small Pin went to Houston and completed the negotiation that collapsed the energy sector in Point Lisas. 11 companies shut down after their negotiation. They leave Franklin Can home, but he was the Minister of Energy. This Small Pin is very powerful. What about Dennis Moses? Dennis Moses, this was the Minister of Foreign Affairs. This was the man to handle situations. But during the COVID-19 pandemic, Stuart Small Pin Young started to attack Barbados and so on, and usurp this man's portfolio and Small Pin embarrassed Trinidad and Tobago by making the most vile, ridiculous attacks against Barbados, and Rowley and make him apologize at all. What about Minister LeHunt, the man who's swearing twice? Minister LeHunt, look, this is a good picture of you, man. You look young and dapper. You tried to go against Stuart Small Pin Young in the cabinet because you thought enough was enough with the Delcy Rodriguez visit and the COVID-19 and the attack on Barbados and the disrespect to citizens who were in Suriname and in Venezuela who were looking to come home. You went up against Small Pin. And where are you? The pin choke you hard, LeHunt. What about Ethelbert? Ethelbert is the Minister of National Security, and when they gone down there in Stobles Bay to cut ribbon and break champagne on the 2 cutlass vessels, the Rowley walk with Small Pin straight past Ethelbert, leave he back there and gone with Small Pin to make speech about now we safe. Ethelbert boy, but anyway, I expect that from you, eh? Ethelbert, the last time you had testicular fortitude, it was about your mother was in her 3rd trimester. After that, when you come out, them stayed inside. What about Minister Dillon, who was Minister of National Security? Dillon, big army man. Son used to jump and think for Trinidad and Tobago, powerful patriot. You, when they went to get cutlass vessel, you didn't get no report or no request. Rowley takes Small Pin down to Australia to get cutlass vessel and leave you here. Oh, you was in Manhattan studying $1 million apartment. Dillon, how come Small Pin in everybody portfolio? That man real bad boy. That all you either real love he or you real afraid he. Me but I confused. And then Rohan sitting on too. Rohan, you boy, big man like you who walk and help, you and Andrew Gabriel, who walk everywhere with Rowley as leader of the opposition when he was boasting about putting spirit lash on Patrick Manning. You who support Rowley all that time. Rowley leave you out of your own portfolio and put Small Pin and Coleman and them to purchase Galleon's Passage. You didn't have no say in that. And then he takes Small Pin to get 2 ferry, APT James and Buku Reef, and you out of that too, and you have nothing to say. Rohanson, but this small pin bad boy, what he know? Washu Kwan, what is karate? He's a Shaolin monk. Wall afraid he's so boy. I can't understand, you know. But let me put it this way. One thing I'm afraid with this small pin. I going to tell Archie to delete this video, because the more I watch this video, the less rhythm I just get. I don't want to go in no fet, and I don't want to hear no music after watching this. Archie, run it, boy.
Hey, look at that boy now.
Archie, I can't take a window. Oh God, Archie, one hand got so, one foot got so. Archie, stop that now, man. I don't know what to tell you. But let me tell you, we're moving into something now. There's distraction after distraction, right? And let me just say to the people named in the probe, all right, for the Paria incident. I don't know y'all. Eugene Tarr, Shiv Sharma, Gregory Wilson. I don't know y'all. I've never heard of y'all. I am looking very carefully. To BP and Shell, do not put anybody on that committee. You know that you depend on a government for regulation, for negotiation, for blocks that you may want to get. There's sensitive negotiations, and your profits depend on the government giving you access to certain resources. So you are conflicted, BP and Shell. So don't do your companies that. Don't make me have to come and bring your companies into disrepute. That is unnecessary. You all have to your profit motive, do your business properly. Do not get involved in something that could be very dangerous politically and can damage your reputation. Right? I want you all to stay out of that. On top of that, Shell, later on, we will see why you, especially Shell, why you have to stay far from anything to deal with Paria and Rowley. Okay, Shell? Now, more pressure for Paria managers. The petition has reached somewhere around 58,000. Keep circulating that petition and keep signing that petition for the Paria managers and Paria board to be removed. Now, Archie, we have a little distraction. So I'm going to deal with the distraction first, because Rowley feels he's smarter than all of us. He comes with a COVID-19 regulation distraction. And then we will get into the real McCoy, the real issue about Paria, Maduro, Wilma Ruperti, Rowley, Smallpin, Delcy, and Newman George. So Rowley, you remove all the regulations? Well, yes, Rowley, because we tell you so. Archie, and we tell him so. Run it and remind the people that we tell him so. And to the PNM that has carried on a charade as they dipped in your heritage and stabilization fund eight times last year without accountability. Call member just dipping, borrowing, and spending. Cease all ridiculous PNM COVID-19 health regulations and protocol. Cease all. The whole country now understands that from the onset of the pandemic, the PNM was playing games. No science, no understanding, no plan whatsoever. So stop all the ridiculous mask regulations, the separation, the numbers in this place, that place, who could gather. Stop all that nonsense, because you allowed PNM to balance and party freely. Tony Chowlinan, PNM, in John Rahal Water Park, PNM could mash up while Iowa, the PNM waterman, sing to people without mask, without social separation. And all right, I'm happy for those who enjoy themselves. But is there a law? Is law for one and a different law for another? My brother Keith Scotland, at least he had on his mask, but he was in a wake in Queen's Hall, government sanctioned law breaking. when the protocols and the social separation went wild, when the soca music took them with the alcohol and no mass balancing, who could see it crossing the stage in the PNM's NCC Savannah? They built pods and the pods not good again. Now you come to tell people, go back in your car with your husband and wife and put on mask or else you get ticket. Social separation, police for peaceful picket on the divers down in Pointe-à-Pierre, police and tear gas for protesters at the Queen's Park Savannah, singing gospel and praying and shouting Rowley must go, lock up. 28 police to search the house of Adrian Schoon because there was a brunch on a boat. Y'all really serious in this country? He had to move it because Rowley has no plan, and he had to listen to the UNC, and he had to listen to Kamla, and he had to listen to everybody else who have brain, because the country is on autopilot except with your money when it being spent. Rowley know how that happening, but he knows nothing else. And he had to do it, Archie. Show them.
As such, mask use will remain in force at this time in all public spaces and places where there is public interaction. Public transport will be allowed to return to 100% of capacity. Mask wearing will continue to be required in vehicles being used for public transport, including all vehicles in which persons are paying to be transported. Families will no longer be required to be masked in their vehicles. This change will also apply to marine vessels being used by families. We are removing restrictions with respect to the length of time and numerical capacity at religious places of worship. Mask wearing will continue to be required during services at religious places of worship. The number of persons permitted at graveside funeral services will be unrestricted, but mask wearing is mandatory for the time being. For unvaccinated nationals returning to Trinidad and Tobago, a reduction in the quarantine time would be applicable. Quarantine time will be reduced from 14 days to 7 days, with discharge taking place on the receipt of a negative PCR test on the 7th day. Madam Speaker, we will decrease the national quarantine time for contacts of positive cases.
All gone. They're all gone. No science, no nothing. But you're gone. Very mandatory. Just last week, your Attorney General said mandatory law come in. But the UNC, douglAR politics, we tell you, you can't do it, boy, Rowley. Rowley, you cannot do it. You feel you're a bully, but you cannot bring no mandatory here. We didn't tell you so, Archie. Archie, I feel we tell him so, you know. Poor fella, he running the government about 3 weeks after douglAR politics. Run it, Archie. In other words, news, they say Kamla was right. Say it with me. Kamla was right. Kamla was right. The UNC was right. From the start, the UNC was right. The UNC is right. Kamla is right. Tim Gopi Singh is right. Lakrambodo is right. Rai Ragir is right. All the UNC, right. Munilal, right. Wade Mark, right. Jolene John, right. Jayanti, David Nakit, Lida, Anil, we were right. Say it, news, they are not hurting you because you have Rowley all up in your K-Packs. But say it. Mandatory, nothing, no mandatory, it will not go. People, do not be afraid, do not be forced, do not take them on, do not take basket, fire, burn the PNM. It will not happen because it makes no sense. It never made sense. The PNM makes no sense. We were never number one in the world in the best. We were the worst because we have dunces. Rowley is a dunce. Alrawi is a dunce. Convent Girl is a dunce. Small Pin is a dunce. Imbat is a dunce. The PNM is a dunce. The PNM must go. It's mandatory that the PNM must go. The PNM, Rowley, must go. Thank you, Tobago. And yes, we told you they can't bring no mandatory nothing. And look what happened yesterday, Archie. Show them what happened in the parliament yesterday.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Pursuant to Standing Order 24.4. Honourable Prime Minister, in light of the statement made, could you indicate at this time whether the government has indeed climbed down on its position of mandatory vaccination in the public service?
Madam Speaker, that will be caught up in what I said. When I said that given the surprisingly good result and the behavior of Omicron, that we have placed hold on drastic actions because circumstances have changed drastically between mid-December and March.
You ever see a man who know that he's a dum-dum, who realize that the whole country realize that he's dotish, that his plan never made sense? You ever see a man who had to flip-flop, who had to soften, who had to wobble, try to do it with arrogance? That was the most amazing thing. You had to back down. You couldn't do it. It wasn't based on science. It was nothing. Your policy was nothing. You had no plan. You have led us through this pandemic into death and devastation, and you try to flip-flop with arrogance. Rowley is a real joke, boy. When I tell you, and who dress you? Who dressed you? Was that Sharon really gone, boy? Yes, you're joking now and look in the parliament. Oh Lord. So DCP dance. What about the health regulations, boy? You is a lawyer for the PNM, but you're oppressing black people and charging them. DCP dance. All your regulations gone. I thought all it wasn't double standard. I thought it was discretion. Discretion on the left side, but no discretion on the right side. Remind me about DCP dance there, Archie. This is a little article, eh? Don't come in. Look at this little thing. But the amount of nonsense packed into here, you, my people, will be astounded at this gentleman. Let me read it for you all, because I have read this 6 times. And the first 3 times I laugh. And the next 3 times, I nearly shed a tear. Jacob warns, beware of taste of COVID. Jacob meaning the acting commissioner of police. Citizens are being warned that if they flout public health ordinance regulations, they may get a taste of COVID and not the taste of carnival that they want to experience. So you are a doctor now. Use Abdul Richards. Use what? If they flout the regulations, they're supposed to get a taste of the law, not a taste of COVID. You is the law. You is not the doctor. You is not the Alsing. You is not the COVID committee. You is not Avery Hines, Dr. Hines. But he continued. Speaking with the Express, Acting Commissioner of Police McDonald Jacobs said he had taken note of reports and pictures circulating on social media of partygoers refusing to keep their masks on and not appearing to adhere to COVID-19 social distancing protocols. With a law, but the Commissioner of Police, who good watch that boy? What is that? Trinidad Flash? Who good look fat? Let me take note, yes. Bacchanal, no mask, crossing stage, pods not good again, people celebrating, man whining on woman, woman whining on man, man whining on man, old mask. Okay, I take note. That's what this man said, the Commissioner of Police, the Acting Commissioner of Police. He continued. The instances are unfortunate. It's unfortunate or it's illegal? You are the Commissioner of Unfortunate or you are the Commissioner of Police? He said the incidents were unfortunate. Then we continue, no? Where I reach, boy? He said he took note, right? Refusing to keep their masks on and not appearing to adhere to COVID-19 social distancing protocols. The instances are unfortunate, but they do not show the whole story. So now he's not the Commissioner of Police. He is now a storyteller. He is now going to be an advocate for lawbreakers. I am not joking with you all, and I'm reading. We'll go in the Express and read it for yourself. Hear what the Commissioner of Police, who work it is to enforce the law, that he only work. He hear this now. That not the whole story. So he come to tell we why what we see is not what we see, and what was the law is not the law, and what we read is not what we read. But he enforce the law when he feel to, and he don't enforce it when he have a story to tell. No joke. All you think I like? Yes, man. Didn't want to play the whole thing for you because it's a distraction. So all of a sudden, Rowley capitulate and say it's endemic. We have failed. We try all kind of things. We oppress your rights. We kept you out of the country. We kept you inside. We shattered your business. We created unemployment. We had inflation in a stagflation situation. The country is in a total state of pain and darkness. But we achieved nothing. So let's go. No, pause. Rowley, pause, because as Kamla Persad-Bissessar said, your normal strategy, Rowley, will not work. The people are on to you. It's a distraction. Run up what Kamla said. They put it up there. Let me read it. Kamla Persad-Bissessar said that this, from the leader of the opposition, Rowley's move to lift some COVID-19 restrictions was not to benefit citizens. Rather, it was a totally self-serving and obscene act to distract from the preventable Paria deaths. Well, I will not be distracted. I will not, Archie. So let's go. The Express says, open up Paria inquiry. If the rate at which the petition calling for the dismissal of the board and management of state-owned Paria Fuel Trading Company is gathering pace, is an indication of public confidence in the Ministry of Energy's inquiry into the Paria tragedy, then the government has an uphill battle, says the Express editorial on Friday, 4th March. Seemingly unimpressed by Energy Minister Stuart Young's emphatic assurances about the independence of the inquiry during yesterday's post-cabinet news conference, the petition has been picking up steam, and let's sign it, let it reach 300,000. However, the government should not need thousands of signatures to tell it what it should already know, which is that the country as a whole is hurt about the accident that claims the lives of 4 undersea divers and injured another. Now, the Express call it an accident. I have no idea what it is. It is angry about the callous manner in which the families of the 5 men were treated by Paria, and it is worried that the restructuring exercise that broke up Petrotrin into Paria Fuel Trading, Heritage Petroleum, and Guaracara Refining may have compromised the critical area of health, safety, and security, and the environment. Against this background, says the Express, the onus is now on the government to prove to the public that an inquiry into Paria tragedy fulfills the primary requirement of public trust. Let us now begin. And to all members of the media, please record, keep, and take the points that I'm making. And please utilize it to do your job, to save the country from further pain, darkness, humiliation, and disrespect. Please, first and foremost, we have to begin at the beginning. Kamla Persad-Bissessar got wind from a whistleblower about an audit report done by the PNM under the PNM Minister Nicole Oliveri, the Minister of Energy, and the Board of Petrotrin. An audit that questioned some quantities of oil that was said to be going into Petrotrin. This audit led to the dismissal not only of that board, but of the minister herself, who lost her portfolio. Another board was put in place, and they did 2 subsequent international audits of the same issue. Kamla Persad-Bissessar brought this information out of the PNM camp to the population from a whistleblower. Now the PNM tries to say that Kamla Persad-Bissessar brought wrong information and misled. Nonsense. Let us listen to Faris Al-Rawi, the PNM Attorney General, first and foremost, set the stage for where we will reach to this situation with our divers who are dead. Run it, Archie.
I want to remind the population, Petrotrin stands apart from the government. The board of Petrotrin commissioned an investigation into the AV oil matter. It wasn't Mrs. Persad-Bissessar that commissioned that investigation. It wasn't Mrs. Persad-Bissessar that produced a report, and it wasn't Mrs. Persad-Bissessar that was taking advice on the outcome of those positions. It was the board appointed by the present government that took that action. The board of Petrotrin, which is conducting this matter, it is that board which investigated this matter, and it is that board which will complete its investigation in this matter, and it is that board which will consider the advice of its attorneys at law and take action as is appropriate. The point to underscore here is that this government is prepared to investigate itself. And I'm not saying it, I'm demonstrating it by way of showing you the approach that was taken in the Petrotrin matter.
And then we had the closure of Petrotrin. Now keep in mind that there was $64 million of reports from consultants, from Lashley report, Solomon report, and the McKinsey report that never said to shut down Petrotrin. It gave prescriptions for cutting and cost cutting and so on. The board that Rowley said to the population instructed the cabinet or suggested or advised the cabinet that Petrotrin should be closed. Winfred Espinay went under oath in the labor court and said he and his board made no such recommendation at any point in time. So Keith Rowley closed down Petrotrin on his own volition, on his own advice. And I don't even know if you have, Archie, that video, that Rowley even confused himself and became known as the second greatest liar in history, only second to himself in Emailgate, when he said this, Archie. Run it.
But I want to talk to the mothers, the children, the neighbors, and all those who are attached to the Petrotrin business to make one clear statement to you. First and foremost, the government is not closing down Petrotrin. And in case you were just opening your fridge and you didn't hear that when you closed the door, let me repeat it. The government of Trinidad and Tobago is not closing down Petrotrin.
And he said a statement to the mothers and the children. So the Prime Minister said Petrotrin not closing down, Rowley. The chairman of Winfred Espinay and Petrotrin said it not closing down. The 64 million of reports said it not closed down. Yet Rowley closed it down. Why is that? And then, what did Rowley do? He broke up Petrotrin and created Heritage, Paria, and Guacara and something else, and put his own personal attorney in charge of Heritage Petroleum, which controls all the issues surrounding oil production, all the assets. He also removed the Petrotrin police. The Petrotrin had their own police and a kind of khaki thing who knew how to protect all the assets and who were there. Somehow they were removed and a new security company came in. Now when you're building a case, in order to go to court and so on, you need evidence, you need statements, you need logbooks, you need GPS on cars. Where is Dioki Singh? But all of this went away and Rowley put his personal attorney, A.A. Kwamena, not as Newman George, in charge of Heritage Petroleum. That even if you want to question him about what Rowley tell him, he could say attorney-client privilege. And then you know what happened with the arbitration. Let's fast forward with the fake oil matter, where the senior counsel Deborah Peake said this is nonsense, appeal, and no appeal was done. They dealt with the government under Rowley, who should have recused himself from the original, from the first statement, because he said that is my friend. But yet he remained in position, just like the Paria board and the Paria management is remaining in position while investigation is going on. We have gone so far down the path towards
abject total corruption and acceptance of wrongdoing that we don't even know what appears to be right. We don't understand conflict of interest. We have no interest in the principles of justice, nothing like that. He then also put that man, you could put him up now, Newman George, in charge of Paria. Remember that? Then these people, these PNM, then went to Anil Roberts and the OWTU and said, don't worry. There are bids for the Petrotrin refinery that we were not closing down, that is closed down and it's still closed down. But you bid, and Coleman but said the only the PNM could do that. Turning labor into entrepreneurs. Where are the entrepreneurs? Nothing. Patriotic Energies was blanked 4 times. But one of the conditions coming out of Rowley's cabinet for Patriotic Energies and the purchase of the refinery, in clause condition number 7, was that it signed an agreement, an MOU with Trafigura PTE. Trafigura PTE is Wilmer Ruperti, is Maduro, closest Maduro friend and confidant from PDVSA, who restructured PDVSA under Chavez since 2003 and continues so to do. Wilmer Ruperti is Maduro's #1 man who does the sanction busting to ensure that Maduro has some revenue coming in. That was condition number 7 issued by the PNM to Patriotic, and Patriotic did go and sign with Trafigura. There was also a number called $700 million US cash, where Coleman but said, no, we don't want the cash. All your Patriotic, we will ease you up with that upfront payment and so on. Do you know there was an exact figure that Wilmer Ruperti was given by Maduro from PDVSA to create bunkering spots all over the world to bust sanctions and to evade sanctions, and that figure was $700 million US, just about the time that collapsed and the world found out and the USA found out. This 700 million figure by coincidence happened to deal with the purchase of the Petrotrin refinery and Patriotic. But then the story just hit a whole new level when you could not come home, and Stuart Smallpin Young was the Minister of National Security who could authorize citizens to come back home under COVID-19 lockout, a border policy of lockout of citizens. In March of 2020, Delcy Rodriguez, Vice Presidente of Venezuela, on a sanctioned jet with 5 PDVSA officials, opened the skies and landed at Piaco and went direct face-to-face to meet with Keith Christopher Rowley. Kamla Prasad Visesa, through another whistleblower, alerted the population to that fact. Remind the people there, Archie, please run it.
Request was made. The Vice President of Venezuela wanted to come in and discuss COVID-19 and how the approach to COVID-19 was being dealt with.
Now that Fugate has been exposed, Keith Rowley is lying non-stop to cover his tracks.
And today I want to ask Prime Minister and National Security Minister, did Ms. Rodriguez have in her company, apart from the flight crew, 5 other persons on that flight, one of whom was the president of PDVSA, Asdrubal Jose Chavez Jimenez, president of PDVSA.
And yes, there was a delegation, a small delegation that accompanied her. Present with her was, I'm now discovering, some person called Asdrubal Chavez, some person called Asdrubal Chavez, some person called Asdrubal Chavez.
The some person Keith Rowley is now discovering that he met with is actually Asdrubal Chavez. He is the cousin of Hugo Chavez, and he is also the former president of Venezuelan oil firm Citgo and also a former minister of petroleum. Asdrubal Chavez is part of Nicolas Maduro's inner circle and is banned from entering the United States.
Some person called Asdrubal Chavez.
Yet, Keith Rowley wants us to believe that a high-ranking member of the Maduro regime met with him and wasn't even introduced to him.
The extent of the Venezuelan delegation that we met with
was the Executive Vice President, Ms. Rodriguez, and a Mr. Chavez.
Present with her was, I'm now discovering, some person called Asdrubal Chavez.
Rowley cannot even remember his own lies right now. Now, Stuart Young wants us to believe that the other two PDVSA vice presidents, including the Venezuelan director of state contracts, all just went into a back room.
We saw them, they were brought in, and they went down a corridor into housing D.
If this meeting was about COVID-19, why isn't there a record of it?
No one was sitting down writing notes or minutes to present.
Why did PDVSA's top management, including Maduro's director of state contracts, accompany Delcy Rodriguez on a PDVSA plane to Trinidad and Tobago?
That is a matter for Civil Aviation Department.
But the Director General, Mr. Francis Regis, said it was solely the responsibility of the Ministry of National Security.
I did not know what type of plane they came on, who it is, etc. At no time have I ever asked what plane it is, which plane you're coming in on.
Why did just 3 days before closing the Petrotrin refinery, Keith Rowley told reporters that Venezuelan oil would one day be refined there? Is Keith Rowley secretly planning to sell the Petrotrin refinery to drug kingpin Nicolas Maduro? Keith Rowley has sold out our nation. Rowley must be held accountable now.
Now follow me. In comes Paria. Because Delcy Rodriguez lands all of that Bacchanal and all of that Asdrubal and all a small pin. You know, once he lie in, you see this. And then came the shipment on the Aldan of 148,000 barrels of fuel that left Italy under the consignee of Shell Company. You see, Shell come out of that Paria thing, Shell. This is not a jungle bunny country. Do you understand? All the documentation of that ship, the Aldan, as it left Italy, was done by Shell, because the European Union don't play with the documentation and sanctions. But while the ship was coming towards Pointe-à-Pitre, it miraculously transformed into Trafigura PTE, which is Wilmer Ruperti, who is Maduro's #1 man. It came into Pointe-à-Pitre at Paria, and Paria sold it to ES Euro Shipping, which is Wilmer Ruperti. So Wilmer Ruperti in, Wilmer Ruperti out. Then you remember they said, well, it going St. Eustatius and then it going Aruba. The Aruba government say, hey, we not in that at all. And then all of a sudden Stuart Smallpin Young, and printed in the Express by his girlfriend Asha Javid, said, oh, there was a sanction clause. She's the only one who saw this so-called sanction clause. Now sit down and recall now Paria. Let's go back to there, because this is critical, because Kamla and the whistleblowers started to unravel a clear conspiracy to link friendships with Rowley, Maduro, and moving forward into Russia and Iran. Because when the fuel lines came up, and we must say at this point, we only learned about the Aldan because the US Coast Guard was in the area. Put your minds back. There were 2 huge cocaine busts there. Trump had sent the US Coast Guard and all its military and so on into the Caribbean Sea. And with their surveillance techniques and their radar and their tracking, they caught 2 shipments averaging 165 million US of cocaine. One they caught around here and they brought it into Chagaramas, and you never saw a picture with Gary Griffith or with Stuart Smallpin Young or Al Rawi. You know how them like picture. You didn't see none because the US was in control. The US then found another shipment that was due to go to Spain, $165 odd million. This is about a billion TT dollars in cocaine. At that same time, the US noted that this Aldan ship, when it left Pointe-à-Pitre, Trinidad and Tobago from Paria, it switched off its transponder. Those in the shipping industry will know that that is a no-go, that is illegal, that is not on. But the Coast Guard of the USA were able to track that ship where it left, where it went, and it ended up in Palo Alto, Venezuela, where it offloaded its cargo, which was 148,000 barrels of fuel. The US then gave the information to a Venezuelan reporter, and that's how the story broke about Paria and the possibility of Trinidad and Tobago helping Maduro breach and break sanctions by selling fuel to Venezuela. Remind yourself, and I ask these questions, and I asked the media to take those questions at that time, and this was pre-election, and one reporter took all the questions, did an investigation, but the editors refused to print the story. Now I say to all of you media, these are the questions that you must ask. With Paria, and now advance to Paria divers gone, the callous attitude, no information, no investigation, no business. What were they doing down in that pipeline? What was that pipeline for? Now the plot thickens. Shell, be very careful. Run it, Archie, and listen carefully. Media, take notes. Use the questions now, please.
Members of this house and their friends and their associates created a story in this country that a company owned by the people of Trinidad and Tobago violated American sanctions against Venezuela by our company selling fuel to Venezuela. That is the long and short of the allegation. Mr. Deputy Speaker, it has been demonstrated beyond any repudiation that that allegation has no basis in fact. Mr. Speaker, it has been shown that Paria has not done so. By irrefutable evidence put out in the public domain, whole page ads in the newspapers, members of parliament on the government side responsible for Paria, we have demonstrated to the world, not that we are afraid of anybody, but that the fact is that Paria did not trade with Venezuela on that transaction. Paria's fuel documents went to Aruba, and those were properly made, Mr. Speaker. And they could say what they want, those are the facts. And with all the help up, down, and across, as we speak today, Mr. Deputy Speaker, nobody has been able to demonstrate an iota of evidence to show that what Paria has said in its defense is not true. So if it is not true, if the foundation of the lie is not true, how could the arboreal top of it be true? It reached quite by the speaker now. Reached by the speaker. No fuel was sold by Paria.
Welcome back to douglAR Politics. I held up this for you all a few weeks ago. The fuel gate. Remind yourself now. Everybody studying COVID. Agree with this, because trouble will come. Former Minister Christine Sahadio, did you endorse this? Did you agree with the information on this? Is this factual? Do you put your signature and your reputation on this? Mr. Riza Salim, I don't know who you are, but I'm asking you to. Riza Salim, did you endorse this thing here that is in the papers that Anil have here, turning yellow, it a little curl up and so on? But I tell all you, don't put on that, you know. Okay. And Mr. Eustace Nances, former mayor of Arima, my brother, do you agree with this thing written here? I ask you now. Start recording now. Because Trinidad and Tobago, I warned the Paria board not that they should not have printed this. And I asked members like Peter Clark, Eustace Nances, Christine Sahadio, and Riza Salim. I asked them, those people of good character on the Paria board, if they saw this, if they agreed with it, if they sanctioned it, if they endorsed it, and if they agreed with it. Because now trouble will come. So Alan Karim, and you all get ready, please. I have some questions for the board of Paria. And I shall call their names again. Newman George, Chairman. Peter Clark. Eustace Nances, former Arima Mayor. Christine Sahadeo. And Riza Salim. 1. Were any of you in the Diplomatic Center on Friday, the 27th of March 2020? Did any of you meet with Venezuelan citizens in the Diplomatic Center that day, Friday, 27 March? If so, with whom did you meet? This is to the members of the board of Paria. Who invited you to the Diplomatic Center that day? You can't just show up in a Diplomatic Center just so. Was the invitation by letter, phone call, WhatsApp, email, or other? At the security desk, at the gate to enter, to drive into the Diplomatic Center, what was your stated and approved purpose? To gain access to the Diplomatic Center. Because you don't just get in the gate so. Your name had to be on a list for a specific purpose. What was that purpose? Did any of you meet or greet the Honorable Keith Christopher Rowley, Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, on that Friday, 27 March 2020? Did any of you on the Paria board members meet with the Honorable Stuart Young, Minister of National Security and Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister on that fateful day? What is or what has been Paria's role in the war against COVID-19? Please provide, if any, all decisions made by way of minutes, board notes, etc., following discussions on Friday, March 27, 2020 about Paria's change in policy towards COVID-19 eradication. Regarding this press release here now, put out by you, the board of Paria, on May 19, 2020, did all board members have sight of said release, give input, double-check its veracity, and endorse facts as proffered to the population of Trinidad and Tobago? Eustace Nances, Peter Clark, Christine Sahadeo, Riza Salim, did you all have sight of this, and did you all agree, endorse, and authorize it to be printed and disseminated to the people of Trinidad and Tobago? Oh, sorry. Newman George, you too, Chairman. This press release states, on March 28, Saturday, ES Euro Shipping SA approached Paria to purchase gasoline, okay? At the top here, that's what it says. That on the March 28, the day after Delcy left, ES Euro Shipping SA approached Paria to purchase gasoline. All right. This is for the board. Who from ES Euro Shipping approached Paria? Who at Paria received this approach on the Saturday? Because Delcy come on the Friday. So on a Saturday, who received this approach? Was this approach made in person? Was it at the head office in Newtown? Are there security logs, sign-in books available at the head office of Paria? Was the approach made in person, by phone, Skype, video call, WhatsApp, email, or other? And to the Civil Aviation Authority and the immigration officers, did everybody who came in on the sanctioned aircraft, did they leave on the same sanctioned aircraft at the same time? How was ES Euro Shipping aware that Paria had excess gas due to COVID-19 lockdown? Please let us know, Paria. How did these people just know that you have excess gas? And how did you know you had excess gas on the 28th of March? Please provide the board minutes, the board notes, etc., where information on projected domestic demand for gasoline during COVID-19 was given to you and addressed by the board, which led to your decision that we have excess and that the excess could be sold without risking the population's domestic supply. You see, these things is not joke. That the people that we gasoline for we car. We need to see the board minutes, the information that alerted the board that, hey, we have extra gas. Because of COVID, people not going to be driving X amount, and therefore it will be done, and therefore we could sell that and make some money. Okay. Please provide the newspapers. Newspapers, you all can have these questions. I don't care that it's my question. Okay, it's all your question. So it recorded. It will go back up on Facebook. All media personnel, these are your questions. I take no ownership of them. You all are free to have it. God bless. Go and ask them. Get the answers. I will read it in your newspaper. Please provide all information on legal limits of spending approval by executive positions at Paria Limited and the said legal requirements and approach therein, because this release says that board approval was not necessary for this gasolina purchase. Okay. Do you all, meaning board members, concur that a purchase of 7.9 million US or 55 million TT did not require board approval? Eustace Nances, Christine, former minister in the Ministry of Finance, Sahadio, do you all concur that a $55 million purchase with taxpayers' money does not require board approval? Please let me know. I would love to learn. Do you all agree, board members, that a sale of 5.6 million US or 35 million TT dollars of taxpayer money did not require board approval? Do you all agree with that? Another question to the board members. Is a sanction clause standard industry practice in the sale of large quantities of gasolina? Is that normal? Is it normal practice to have a sanction clause? Did the original contract with ES Euro Shipping have the customary no sanction country clause? If not, why not? Franklin Khan, investigation done? But go wipe that smile off your silly face, boy. Was this clause subsequently inserted? If so, when and under whose authority was that clause inserted? Because the Paria press release states that on April 23rd, Paria contacted ES Euro and amended the contract to include this no sanction clause. And the only human being who has seen this no sanction clause is Asha Javid. Small pen, you show her the clause. How come the Express didn't print the clause yet? However, here the problem. This same Paria release, however, states that on April 15, 2020, payment was transferred from Deutsche Bank to Paria's bank account at the Royal Bank of Canada. So please tell me, other board members, tell the population, if the contract was fully and completely executed on April 15th as stated by your press release, meaning there was an offer, acceptance, delivery, and consideration was paid on the 15th of April in RBC account, on what legal basis can a duly executed and completed contract then be amended 8 days after completion? You see, you got really plenty problem with the gasolina, Frankie. The gasolina now start. The continuing questions for the Paria board. All media personnel, take it, use it. It's yours. God bless. Was $5.623,692.93 US really, truthfully wired from Deutsche Bank account of ES Euro Shipping to Paria's RBC account on April 15, 2020? Did that really happen? Please provide documentation to the media. While providing that paperwork, please provide the invoice of the 15th of April 2020 or before, thereabouts, or before, to ES Euro Shipping with regards to this sale and wire transfer. Because remember, you're saying that, but the invoice I have from Paria, official invoice, is 12 days after this. So what they pay? Please explain why this Paria invoice that I have here, this one I don't want, or let's say Anil don't have, you know. Please explain why this Paria invoice that I hold here to ES Euro Shipping, why is this dated the 27th of April 2020? 6 days after the ship left on the 21st, and 12 days after your Paria press release states that taxpayers' money was in hand at RBC Bank. Has the $5,623,692.93 US, has it really been paid? If so, when, where, how, and by whom, into which Paria account? Still questions on the board. It done, Frankie? It ain't done, my brother. 200,000 barrels of gasolina were offloaded at Pointe-à-Pierre by Trafigura PTE on March 21st, 2020 from the vessel Manolates. The Trafigura PTE invoice claims payment of $7,974,000 US and is dated April 6, 2020. Was that payment ever made? Was that payment ever received? And into what account was it deposited, Paria? It done? It ain't done? It ain't even start yet. By whom to whom? By transfer? By check? By cash? By gold? Or by barter? How was that paid? Please provide evidence, documents. Very easy once it was done. 200,000 barrels offloaded from Trafigura, 148,960 barrels sold to Rumperti and ES Euro Trading. Paria, where are the extra 51,040 barrels of gasolina? Where is it? You haven't mentioned it. Nowhere here. You didn't say anything. Because you bought it. We bought it. So where is it? And please provide documentation of where the people's assets are, where the people gasolina is, the extra 51,040. That might be easy for you to do. Just show that it's still in a tank there and we could buy it. We could take it by NP or by Unipet or wherever. By calculations on Paria's invoice compared to Trafigura's invoice, the taxpayers made a loss on this sale of approximately $497,626 US. Please account. Because are you saying that you had our gas there for us, domestic consumption? Had you sold it to us, you would have made X amount of normal profit because you just charge we plenty, because you take away Kabla fuel subsidy 4 times and you laugh at we. You have money to make, but you sold it. Why? Not to make money. So my calculation shows a loss of $497,626 US. In the words of the great Patrick Mervyn Augustus Manning, where the money gone? We not finished yet, Paria board. All you thought is Franklin, can it done? Now start. So, those questions are for Paria Trading Company Limited. When I come back, I have questions for Ansel Roger. I have questions for Colmimbot, and I will alert the police, not the PNM police, the good normal police who want to do their work, of where you have to go and how you have to do it, and where just because it's plenty of information. I'm going to zero all your in police, those who want to do their work. Those who are only looking for yellow, people in yellow, and they have a man washing car in yellow, just not tell them watch out, you know. Police go come and hold you for using too much water. You know, Wassa say don't use too much water. So those are the questions of Paria. Chairman Newman George, not hearing you, my brother. Useless nonsense, former Arima mayor, businessman in Arima long time, Christine Sahadeo, Peter Clark, boy, hear these names, hear these people of character. You all agree with this? I feel all you better leave Newman to answer your own question, eh? We coming back.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, it has been demonstrated beyond any repudiation that that allegation has no basis in fact. Mr. Speaker, it has been shown that Paria has not done so.
Really? So, synopsis. Sanctions, US sanctions. Rowley friendly with Maduro. Conga line in. Met all those people, including Astrobal Chavez. Borders closed, but open for Delcy and a sanctioned jet. Lies about who and what, where, when, and why they came to talk COVID-19 and all kind of nonsense. As Astrobal Chavez, the next one small pen doing so. An unsigned Paria advertisement in the newspaper, which brought about more questions than answers about the shipment. A shipment of fuel that came from Wilmer Ruperti Trafigura. First of all, left as Shell, and I tell Shell, come out the people thing, because it left Europe at Shell, and somehow midway in the Atlantic it transformed into Wilmer Ruperti Trafigura PTE. Then it came in to Pointe-à-Pierre at Paria, and then Paria turned it around and sent it out to St. Eustatius, then to Aruba, they say, and Aruba and them say, no way, no how. We refinery closed down. It had nothing to do with that. But it went from Trafigura to ES Euro Shipping. It so happens that Trafigura is Wilmer Ruperti, which is Maduro, and ES Euro Shipping, who purchased it from Paria without advertisement, without anything, and at a loss of $498,000 US is Wilmer Ruperti. The then transponder was turned off on the ship, but the US Coast Guard tracked it and it was offloaded in Venezuela. Rowley's position is Paria did not sell nothing to Venezuela. Paria did not sell or purchase any fuel and so on, and did not help Venezuela get away from sanctions. Remember, he went on a tirade against everybody, attacking Mondelo. Then Stuart Smallpin Young lied on Mondelo, and then had to come, Mondelo and the embassy had to come out with a statement to say Stuart Young lied. Imagine that thing back. And then it got worse, because I asked Franklin Kahn, the late deceased Franklin Kahn, before he died. I asked him about April 2020, around that time, how much fuel was really purchased from Trafigura PTE. We only knew about 148,000 barrels. That was the whole issue with the Aldan and so on. But listen to deceased, the late Franklin Kahn answering the question. Run it.
Today, Opposition Senator Anil Roberts posed a question to Energy Minister Franklin Kahn as to whether Paria Fuel Trading Company Limited made payments to Trafigura for the purchase of approximately 200,000 barrels of gasoline fuel during the period March to April 2020.
During the period March to April 2020, Paria Fuel Trading Company Limited purchased 1.24 million barrels of gasoline from Trafigura PTE Limited. Roman 2. The sum paid to Trafigura were in accordance with the supply contract with Paria. The price is based on U.S. Gulf Coast waterborne from the Platts U.S. market scan, plus a premium, which is typical for the fuel trading business. 3. These transactions were conducted from Paria's Trading Company Limited day-to-day operational bank accounts.
The minister said it is no secret that Paria does not only supply the local fuel market.
Just like money, gasoline is fungible. Some is supplied to the local market, some is exported largely to the CARICOM market.
Robert?
Stasis or Aruba or Venezuela members of CARICOM?
Senator Roberts, I won't allow that question.
Senator Roberts posed another question to the Energy Minister. It reads like this: Has Paria received payments from ES Euro Shipping SA on the sale of 148,968 barrels of gasoline or fuel?
On April 15, 2020, payment from ES Euro Shipping SA was transferred from Deutsche Bank to Paria's account at the Royal Bank of Canada. In response to question 7, Roman 2, obviously, for commercial reasons, the payment received from ES Euro Shipping SA on the sale of the 148,968 barrels of gasoline or fuel by Paria Fuel Trading Limited cannot be disclosed.
Poor Franklin Can. He read out exactly what Newman George told him to. If you listen carefully to the last video, the invoice had from Paria to ES Euro Shipping had their bank account at First Citizens Bank, 36A, Queen's Park, Savannah. How then did ES Euro Shipping, a company out of Switzerland, know to deposit money into Paria RBC account? Tell me what they had a crystal ball. Okay, Paria, you have an account in RBC. Your invoice says First Citizens Bank, but we going to deposit into RBC account. This is the madness. Now it continues and it gets worse. Because I'm just telling you now that you carry the Paria. So what you are seeing is the entire plan. So we thought it was just Trafigura, Wilmer Rupetti, Maduro, 148,000 barrels of fuel. But no, in March to April, 1 month, Franklin Can just said 1.24 million barrels from Trafigura PTE, from Wilmer Rupetti, from Maduro. And this was to continue except that Kamla, whistleblower, bust the mark, Delcy Rodriguez, USA, looking now at ships, US Coast Guard, ships coming in and out of Pointe-à-Pierre. But this is a big ongoing deal that was made, 1.2 million barrels per month. So how could you continue that? How could we continue? We can't have ships coming in and out because the USA monitoring. So if we have ships that come outside there, they don't come inside. And we have a pipe. And we put thing here and we keep it underground and it's secret and the pipe could. That part is speculation. But then I have to ask you, why are divers using or down in a pipe that, as they said, was not utilized for so long? Why, when something occurred, did Paria move so secretively? Why did they prevent divers and other people from going down there to see what was going on and to assist and try to save lives? Why did they call the Coast Guard, who has no idea or no experience and no commercial diving, welding, commercial diving expertise or security? They know nothing about the area. Why was the Coast Guard brought in to keep people away? Why were the family kept outside? Why was information not forthcoming? Why were those divers just left there to die without action? Why wasn't action taken? When you get the whole story, things start to make more sense. And to Shell, I just want to remind you, don't take up any appointment at any politician's committee, because Shell, not only are you and BP conflicted because you're doing business here and you're regulated by the Ministry of Energy and you require, you bid on blocks for exploration and for access to oil and gas, billions of dollars. You should not, in all corporate governance, all processes, all legal parameters, with all consciousness, get involved in something that you are not totally independent on. You're conflicted. And especially Shell, your conflict goes further, because I remind you that the ill-fated transshipment, that one that brought about all the information on the Aldan, when it left Italy, it left under the documentation of Shell. Run it, Archie. And find Newman George and ask him all of these questions. One, how did he know and when did he know that they were buying gas from Augusta in Italy? And it left on February 27th. And what was the purpose of that purchase? And how, and is he aware that the purchase, when it left, it was for Shell, normal company without sanctions and so on. And midway through, it turned out to be Trafigura Pte Limited, Kolkekwe Ocean Financial Center, Singapore. This is the invoice. So this is not a Shell invoice. And when you research Trafigura, you would see a long history of Rumperti. You will see EOS Trading then approach Paria. I'm asking Paria, how did EOS in Geneva know that you had gas to sell? Where the advertisement? Waiting. And did you know that EOS is another Rumperti, who is the son? Furthermore, the total, you said you did due diligence and the financials were given. EOS total revenue, annual revenue is 750,000 US. How could you sell them a cargo for 5.6 million US? And keep in mind other little tidbits. The board, Paria and Newman George, said that the board did not require to approve a $55 million purchase. Really? I don't know no manager or no CEO who had that kind of limit. That is your limit, 55 million US. Also, you must really keep in mind that $1.2 million of fuel in 1 month. If you extrapolate that over a year, 2 years, then something had to occur. Some change of plan had to be made. When you link in Patriotic Energies and Trafigura Pte, which is Wilmer Ruperti, in the whole refinery and the purchase that collapsed because of knowledge and information from whistleblowers that came out when this story broke, then you have to understand what is going on. How come Rowley was so close and defending Maduro all over? Do you know that Iran picked up and pulled up the slack when that Paria shipment became the subject of international information, even though our media dropped the ball? Iran sent 4 tankers of fuel to Maduro. Rowley is now spitting out Guyana and CARICOM in favor of Iran. All of this is linked to this Paria. The board of Paria must be removed. The management of Paria must be removed. The independent investigation must go on. I don't know Eugene Ta. I don't know Shiv Sharma, and I don't know Mr. Wilson. All you, God bless all you, do a great job. But the BP and Shell come out of that because the population are sick. Why? Why did they do that? What could make? Think about it. You are a minister of energy or prime minister, something occurs. You have no actual control over that. So why? Didn't you just go to the families, keep them comfortable, keep them informed, tell them you're going to investigate, tell them each hour what's going on, all the attempts to be made, go and allow the divers who wanted to go down, let them sign an indemnity if you wanted, and let them get down there and try and save these men. What was the secret? Why did you cordon off the area? Why did you stop people from going? Why did you stop the media from going? Why were the police not given access there to seal it off? Why all the secrecy? And when you hear all the story and you hear the track record and the lies from Paria, unsigned, that advertisement that I held up there, and Rowley's claim that all was above board because of that Paria newspaper article that I shredded it like chili BB. And there are more questions and so many inconsistencies and lies across the board. But understand this, we are in a perilous state and our foreign policy is being run by something you have to keep in mind. What is the most passionate thing Rowley's get vexed and stutter about? Money. But he hug up and he conga line with Maduro. Run it, Archie, and show what Maduro, Russia, Iran, and now Trinidad and Tobago. Run it from back then.
Tonight, new details emerging on the escalating military tensions between the U.S. and Russia. As Pentagon officials game out a response to Russian aggression in Europe, Vladimir Putin is now making some serious moves in the Caribbean. Our Brian Todd is all over the story for us. Give us the latest, Brian.
Wolf, tonight, Putin is on America's doorstep with nuclear-capable bombers that can fly at twice the speed of sound. It's a bold move right out of the Cold War as the Russian president tries to establish a military foothold near American shores. A Russian bomber with an impressive wingspan touches down at America's doorstep. The Tu-160 has to deploy parachutes to slow down. Russian pilots, decked out in helmets and orange jumpsuits, climb out to a hero's welcome. Two of these bombers, nicknamed Blackjacks, are in Venezuela tonight. Vladimir Putin has deployed these warplanes along with two support aircraft to conduct exercises over the Caribbean with Venezuelan forces. A worrisome development for Washington, considering the capability of the Russian bombers, which can fly twice the speed of sound.
This bomber was designed to do both high altitude and low altitude penetration of airspace with nuclear weapons, to deliver nuclear weapons on target. This aircraft was designed to be an offensive capable weapon to get into our airspace during the Cold War.
The deployment comes on the heels of Putin's recent military aggressions against Ukraine on land and sea, and countermoves by U.S. forces. Analysts say Putin is sending an unmistakable signal to the United States tonight.
He's clearly trying to send a message to the United States that he can play in our backyard and that Russia maintains significant military capability.
And that was around 2018, around the time of this whole imbroglio, when Rowley was attacking the U.S. ambassador. Smallpin was saying that he met with him and then lied on the meeting, and the ambassador had to clarify. The ambassador who then went back to the USA and said that Rowley, the prime minister, said that the USA was his old friend, and he's making new friends with China moving forward. This is very serious, but we are in this case, and we don't know why 4 men died underneath there, and why there's so much secrecy, and why there's so much inhumane treatment. Why? Because there's more in the mortar than the pestle, and it must be dealt with. And if the media understood and go back and check what was going on, why that fuel, why Maduro, why Wilmer Ruperti, why did that shipment Aldan that we found out about only because Trump had sent the U.S. Coast Guard into the Caribbean, and Russia, Putin responded by sending those jets to Venezuela. Take your mind back, and we are smack dab in the middle of it because men playing games with money. Delcy Rodriguez lands here in a pandemic, and they lie about COVID-19 and COVID-19 meeting, and they did not know it's as Jubal Chavez and 5 PDVSA oil officials, and then all of a sudden, as Delcy land, the ship, the Aldan was outside in the Gulf of Paria waiting to come in. Why did the ship change from Shell in Europe to Trafigura halfway through? Why did we buy from Trafigura Wilma Rupetti and sell to Trafigura Rumpetti? And why did we not know where it was going? And why was there no sanction clause? And how did they try to put a sanction clause into a contract that had already been consummated on the 15th of April? They put in the clause on the 23rd after the contract done. Paria has many questions to answer, and now we have 4 dead citizens who require answers. Their family requires answers. The country requires answers. And you are telling me that Stuart Smallpin Young, who's been involved in this imbroglio all the time, come and said, oh, well, we won't remove anybody right now. He should be removed. Rowley should be removed. Newman George should be removed. And the entire management of Paria should be removed because we are in a total mess. And when you all think foreign policy does not impact our country, look at what Maduro said about Putin, and keep in mind that you, Trinidad and Tobago, through your Prime Minister Keith Rowley, you are on this team. What's your team? Run it.
Y el presidente Putin viene denunciando ante el Consejo de Seguridad de la ONU que a Rusia pretenden rodearla, apuntar todas las armas de la OTAN sobre Rusia, para en algún momento que se presenten las condiciones, atacar y destruir a Rusia. ¿Y qué pretende el mundo? Que el presidente Putin se quede de brazos cruzados, no actúe en defensa de su pueblo. Por eso Venezuela anuncia todo su respaldo al presidente Vladimir Putin en la defensa de la paz de Rusia, en la defensa de la paz de esa región, en la defensa valiente de su pueblo. La paz de Rusia es la paz del mundo y vamos a defender la paz del mundo. Repudiamos y rechazamos todos los planes para rodear militar y estratégicamente a Rusia. A Rusia se le tiene que respetar como se tiene que respetar a todos los pueblos del mundo.
And as we go, I know you have food for thought. I went a little long because I had to take my time and remind you. Senator Wade Mark had moved a motion on this issue about Paria and fuel. And it was to come up on the 15th, I believe, of May in the Senate back then. And on a Sunday, the 14th, one day before the motion, documents were drawn up, dated 54 days after the Aldan left Pointe-à-Pierre. Customs documents, bills of lading, official documents were drawn up 54 days after a ship left. Police, I had asked back then for the good police who is not PNM police to investigate the RBC account of Paria. How can money reach an account that a company does not know about when the invoice had a different account in a different bank? How the money jump in? Was there any money? Did it ever pass? Why did we look to buy fuel from Venezuelan Wilmer Rupetti and sell it to Rumpetti? What was the reason for that? What was the cost? Why would we sell fuel that you're purchasing for domestic supply and make a loss? Gasoline is not banana. It don't go bad. So why would Paria sell gasoline fuel at a loss of $498,000 US if any money passed? Because it was Rupetti to Rupetti utilizing Paria and Trinidad and Tobago and ending up in Venezuela. And in the midst of all of that was Rowley stuttering, stumbling and lying about Astrobal Chavez. Now we have 4 dead divers at Paria. Secrecy. You all determine. You decide what is really going on. Good night.